Hello, good evening. Bonjour. Bonjour. It is 7:05 on this 18th of April. April. It's going to go down as a pretty important month. I'm out walking. Flo and Tukor and Maraval. Today's Saturday. I have a feeling Flo will come back Monday. Unless it's kind of heavy where she is in Maraval, I don't know. But I'm out on my own as the sun starts to sink in the west. And I got back today at around I don't know when actually, maybe 1 o'clock from Stephen Katz's house. And of course I went over to them yesterday, Friday. Arrived at 2. I was saying to myself in the car back that what would seem a small step for many was for me quite a big step to do this. It is something even a year ago I think I would have, what do they say in the AA, at certain steps we balked. What an order, I can't go through with that. I think it would have been like that with me if Flo had said something like that last April, for instance. And I hope this lasts. Over the last few days I've been wonderfully open for people to help me. And right now, just after saying that, I feel bad I haven't spoken to Simon or John Woodgate or sent them a message. Just sent them a message. I did send Stephen actually a message this morning, now that I think about it. But John Woodgate, he'll probably be interested to hear. I'm at the tree, first tree on the walk. Long shadows. I haven't had time to experience the change in seasons. The clocks went forward or backward, whatever, when I was in God, I can't remember. Ireland. I'm pretty sure it was in Ireland when I was in Carlow. And I haven't had time to soak up the wonderful sense of the long evenings, and I'm really appreciating this moment now. It's peaceful. When I came home from Stephen, there's a sense of wanting to do stuff and not quite knowing what to do. And it's almost like the spell of Anno and the spell of chess is kind of broken, strangely. I mean, it would be the most wonderful opportunity to just binge a little bit on Anno today and tonight. Get back into it, because I was having quite a lot of fun there. I mean, before I went to Ireland, I was streaming stuff every day. I was really into it. But now I seem to have, it's like the turning of a page or something. I seem to have, maybe when I go back to play, the interest will come back, even with chess. I've started a new chess account. I've gone back to 0 again. But anyway, I also realize I'm sitting at home and I'm thinking, God, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And I realize for the last, how many months? Approximately 17 or 18 months, especially in a situation like this when Flo was away, a certain amount of time would have revolved around cans of Kronenberg, the red ones, or Corona. And it's not even that I might have drank too much, but it's just I would have probably woken up and done some stuff, and on my mind would be, you gotta go to Carrefour, pick up some beer, and then that would be the thing to do, and I might put it off for an hour or two, but then I'd go get the stuff, bring it back, and then I may drink a few, and I may start, and somehow that was the crux of the day. It's a typical alcoholic thing. Everything revolved around those cans of beer, Even if I only drank one, that would be the thing you were leading up to all day. And for the first time in a long time, I'm at home. Flo's not there. But I'm back to my sobriety self, and so there's a kind of a hole there that needs to be filled with some much healthier activity, because I'm obviously not doing that anymore. Then there's the fear that these tapes would get into the wrong hands. I hope not. I'm being honest with myself and my higher power here. I know the AA says you probably should tell somebody else, but everyone knows I had a relapse. I started drinking. It feels okay to just leave it like that, rather than to get into the year previously, and the wonderful job I did of hiding everything. Until Carlo. I think Carlo was what kind of set the ball rolling, actually. All those little bottles of whiskey walking down to town. I think that kind of set things on a trajectory to blackout drunk, which happened. Anyway, I don't want to depress myself thinking about that anymore. I did a long take here. This is file number 6, the very last entry here, and the very last entry on this YouTube channel. You'll see it's about an hour long, and it goes into great detail about the whole thing. I want to kind of try and concentrate on getting better now. So yeah, yesterday I went to Stephen Katz, and I arrived at about 2:30. I drove a little nervously. Then we went shopping for some ant poison, because the ants are apparently eating the wiring of the electrics in his gate. Came back and did that. Everything's very slow. Eventually we all headed off to X, and he drove nice and slow on the motorways, the main roads really, and then got to the motorway. And then we drove off, and we went to his rock sister's place, and I went in with them. And it's surprising how relaxed I was with all this, because going into Rock's place with these 3 ladies, and Rock and Stephen kind of doing their thing, and I'm left standing there on my own in the room with Florence, who hurt her foot. But I'm finding myself more relaxed than I would imagine. And I have this kind of insane idea that I'm like this kid going around with these guys. That the ants are looking at me going, oh, what a cute kid. What a cute young guy. And I'm kind of realizing I'm probably the same age as his sister. I can't accept my age. I mean, I kind of accepted myself, but when I look at other people, I can't accept I'm older than them. Like I say, I expect Rock's sister to come up to me and say, treat me like I was, like Phil used to do when I was like 17, 16. It's kind of strange. I really believe that the development in me hasn't gone to where it should have gone because of my lifestyle. And I'm forever stuck at this kind of adolescent stage. I can't emphasize it. I mean, with Stephen and Rock, I just feel like I'm this 20-year-old kid that's hanging out with them, and I'm 60. So Stephen and me, we left Rock there with these sisters. They went somewhere else, and then me and Stephen walked all the way to where the meeting would be, which was a long kind of walk. I didn't have a clue where it was. Oh, incredibly loud music coming from across the field. And we eventually found the church. We arrived at about 5:30, had a coffee in the place beside the church. And then there's a lot to be said for allowing the higher power, and because I just kind of let myself be washed along with all this, and I felt fine, Then I just sent a message again. Luckily I have the group, the X group on WhatsApp, and I said we're waiting for a meeting, just making sure that everything will be okay for the meeting. And then someone said, yeah, Pamela's going to open tonight. And then I sent back a message saying, Pamela's in Nice at the convention, isn't she? And so the guy that was to open the meeting completely forgot about this. And then another man called Dan was there. I met him on the steps of the church, and a woman. The woman went away, but Dan stayed with us. It turned out in the end there was no meeting, because it would have been just too long for this guy Paul to get there. And so me, Rock and Dan had a coffee. Dan explained about his daughter having her breasts removed because she's transgender, transitioning into a man. And he was her nurse looking after her, even though he's not a nurse. He's a football coach, training a football team in X. And he gets to stay in an office somewhere on the Core Mirabeau, just off it, and gets paid about €800 a month for training this football team. That's about as much as I could get my head around all that. Then we left him and went to this restaurant, Le Singe Vert, the Green Monkey. And we went to the back where there were no people, and I felt very important. And Rock was there with his sister and his sister's friend. And they had a drink, but then they left, and then me and Rock and Stephen had a meal. I had fish bass, and some potato wedges. They were like. Strange thing was there was no vegetables, no sauce, nothing. Just the fish and the potatoes. The kind of thing I'd do, and Flo would say, well, you wouldn't do any vegetables. Then we left there and went to the cinema, the Renoir, across the road, and now it's 9:30 now. And again, in the Renoir, I was so relaxed with Stephen, and I went with the tickets, and I was able to talk a little bit of French and find out where I was able to see where the hall was. There's 3 different theatres. And they went to the loo, and I waited for them. And we saw this movie, Project Hail Mary, Ryan Gosling, which went on for 2.5 hours. It was a very good movie. I did find it a little long. There were flashbacks that I thought were kind of dragged the movie down a bit. But that movie started at 9:30. And me normally, I'd be in bed by 9, playing chess, looking at YouTube videos. So when the thing finished, it finished at 10. It must have been 12:30 when the movie finished. And then me and Stephen and Rock had to walk all the way back to where the car was, which is like about at least 30 minutes away. And then on the way, Stephen wanted to Rock wanted to have a coffee somewhere in one of the cafes that were open. course, I'm starting to get nervous because I'm thinking, really, you're going to have a coffee with all these guys around, all these guys. Anyway, eventually we did have a coffee when we got close to where his sisters lived. But at this point it's like must be after 1 a.m. It was crazy. I'd never been up so late in another place. And then we had to drive all the way back to Man and their place. We didn't get back till around 2:30. I'd say I went to bed at 3. And they were going on earlier about, if you need more blankets and if you need the heat on and you don't want that room to be damp. And I was kind of worried, oh my God, is the room going to be really damp? But of course the room was fantastic and I slept like a baby. And when I woke up there was heating everywhere, in the shower room and in the bedroom. And I got up and I was talking to Stephen eventually, and he made kind of French toast, that's what it was, from his mother's recipe, which I was worried about because he was talking about putting eggs and cream and milk in it, and I was thinking, oh God, I don't like any of those ingredients. But it turned out that was okay. It was like toasting brioche, and I put some maple syrup on it, and I ate 2 of them, I think. And Stephen wants me to help him archive his stuff. His dad's letters, his sister's letters maybe, his letters. Wants me to scan everything and put them in files. I start Wednesday. So that'll be interesting. And he wants to pay me. Then I drove home nervously at around midday. All the time thinking, when I get home I'm going to be so happy because I can just relax. I can just relax because I seem to be forever engaged in things now, going to Nice, going to Ireland, going to Spain, coming back here, trying to get to meetings, going to Stephen. When I got back home, I felt tired and I went to bed at about 4, got up at 6. It's kind of feels like a new phase. I gotta just remember to hand my fears and doubts over to a higher power. Not my will. Let go, let God, let it be. Take it easy. And on Wednesday, send a message to Stephen and drive up and relax. Instead of having multiple doubts about how am I going to archive? Suppose I can't work the laptop. Suppose I don't know how to do the scan. Suppose I have to I should just relax and I should realize, it's, at least you're talking to him in English. At least it kind of gets rid of all the bafflement of the French language. And I'm very easy, I think, to be with that. I think they realized that. Maybe John Woodgate was a little more, he imposed himself more, I think, from what I've heard. I'm certainly not going to impose myself on anyone. And I listen, and I have an interest in Stephen's history. And I like when Rock gets philosophical about things, so hopefully... Anyway, again, I don't know why I'm saying hopefully they don't mind me. I mean, I didn't even really volunteer for anything. They've asked me to do this stuff. They volunteered to take me to a meeting. It's not like they were bound by law to look after me or anything. I just have to let things go. I've arrived down at the pylon at the very end of the walk. Can hear some birds in the distance. Lots of music. There must be a party over in St. Pancras somewhere. Had a bizarre thought. If I was walking along here drinking lots of cans, the thought would have struck me to go over there and try and see if you could get into the party. Can you imagine? Right, there's lots of cars in front of me here with people, I think, maybe on the lake or having a picnic. So I'm gonna turn around and head back. It's a pretty good walk. I walked to the end of the thing. Well, the sun, from here the sun looks higher than it did a few minutes ago. That's obviously not possible. Just whatever angle I am here. It has kind of come up on me so fast, this, like, right now, it's it's 7:30. And the sun is right over Villeneuve, Vox, the village on the right. Kind of in the middle, actually, but it's really high in the sky. And it's extremely powerful, not a cloud in the sky. And it's 7:30, and I can tell by looking at the sun there's at least an hour and a half left of light. So I could have done this walk at 8 o'clock. Could probably even do it at 7:30. And just like that, the long evenings are here. The long evenings. This time last year I was well into the learning French classes. Funny thing about that is I don't associate that with any drinking. And yeah, I had kind of fallen off the wagon at that point, obviously, so I was. But never anything to do with the classes. Never during any breaks or anything either. It was a very, very, very slow, kind of lingering relapse. Anyway, let's move on from it. So what do I do for the rest of the day? Well, today I washed my runners. Quite proud of that. In the washing machine. Tonight I'm going to have some fish fingers and potatoes. I don't know. I don't even feel very motivated to turn on Anno. I've lost the thread of what I was doing in it. I need to watch some videos of myself, the ones I put on my channel, and maybe I can get back into the groove, you know, of find out what was it that was inspiring me. Been in touch with Martina too. She seems to be very affectionate lately. She's been sending a lot of very encouraging messages, asking how I got on and telling me to let her know how the meeting went and how my time with Stephen Katz went. And it's nice. It's a kind of newfound connection with people. Even Catherine and my brother John to some extent. But there's so many more people there as well. The only person that hasn't really, and I don't know if because she's away or something, but that's Jodie. Maybe Jodie is more the Al-Anon. Maybe she's more looking at things from trying to help the flow. She hasn't really... I don't think there's any message saying I should call her, or she certainly hasn't called me, hasn't sent me much of anything. And I resent that. Step 1, don't resent anything. I wonder where this stuff will go with Stephen Katz. It's an interesting thing. I wasn't just kind of sucking up to him when I said I have an interest in history and stuff. I genuinely do. But I don't know what I'm going to find in these things. I don't know even if I'm going to have time to kind of literally read all these letters. Stephen might like to have just these things done rather than me taking hours and hours going through everything. And even if I read stuff, I don't know if I'm going to connect with anything. I don't see why not. I'm very philosophical, and I'm interested in people and their thinking and the way people had different thinking processes in the past. And I'll be going back probably over 100 years with some of these I think. Then there's Stephen Katz's life itself. It's I'm kind of hoping it'll be a big box of just letters and things, and he'll just lead me to it, and I can go through stuff and scan things, and then maybe come across stuff that's kind of going to be fascinating for him and me. But I don't. This is what I'm doing now is really the crux of step 2 and 3. But I don't know the whole point is that you don't have to know. It doesn't matter. You don't have to start getting kind of rattled up about, will it be good? Will it be sick? That's the sickness. That's the sick thinking. When something in you tries to torment you with some stupid fucking thoughts that are irrelevant. Just trying to make you feel uneasy and uncomfortable about an event that's hasn't happened yet, that you've got no way of knowing one way or the other. Instead of just thinking, isn't it great? I mean, I'm going to get to go there again. I'm going to get to immerse myself in something. And if I could really kind of surrender to a higher power and say, I'm putting myself in your hands here, please, help me with your purpose. Then this is kind of a very mysterious and wonderful thing that's kind of happening out of the blue. I know there was mention of this maybe before, but doing his archives, but for it to come now, it's like, if it was a movie and I was kind of this character in the movie, and the scene came up that he says, I want you to go through my archives, kind of as an audience you'd be going, this is interesting. This is interesting. There has to be something interesting here in the archives, otherwise you wouldn't be doing this. That's so true. In a movie, as soon as there's a box with letters and stuff in it, it's not going to be like the guy's just going to be working and it's not going to mean anything in the movie. It has to be. So I should be excited. I should be kind of intrigued. I should be intrigued by, what's coming? Because this is kind of fascinating. And it's not really anything to do with me as such. I never once mentioned about this. It was kind of Flo maybe that told Stephen that Eddie doesn't like this job or that job, but he loves routine jobs, he loves being in a room. And then it was Stephen that said, you could do this. But I should be intrigued, like I'm somehow watching my character, and it's like, that's going to be fun. I've always kind of hoped that Stephen and that kind of connection to the old Hollywood, in a sense, making movies, and that I'd have some connection there, some part to play with these guys. And it's kind of coming to pass. It is sad about the problems with aging. I'm finding that very depressing. I feel for Stephen. Because you never think about someone that walks with their back bent. And he was saying it's like he's been told to walk and look up when he walks, but he said it's so hard, it's constant pain when he tries to put his back up. And he was, I think, kind of visibly embarrassed talking about it. He was saying, I don't know, I think you called it, I've got a crooked back. Is it crooked or is it crooked? And crooked old man. And you just kind of think people accept these things and don't think about them at all, but of course they do. He was a fine tall man at one point, and it's just not something that you can skip over. Every time he starts to walk, he's aware of it. He's kind of looking down, he can hardly look up. And then Rock must be having terrible uncomfortable moments when everything seems confusing, and there's this kind of, God, I know that from the drinking, where I'd have those moments of thinking, God, I feel like I'm going to pass out. But the feeling would stay, and it's like being dizzy, but it's like 100 times worse. It was the most horrible sensation. It's about the only time I remember kind of thinking to myself, I wish I could throw up if it meant getting rid of this feeling. Because it really was this feeling of just never been able to describe it. It's like even when you lie down, it doesn't go away. Even when you lie down, you have a sensation. You've got a sensation you're going to fall. It's the weirdest. And I know Rock, maybe, with the shaking and the forgetting and the good and bad days, he must have terrible moments. Thankfully, he seemed to have a very good time yesterday. He seemed to be in good form. Extraordinarily independent. Like, he wouldn't allow me to help him with his coat. Anyway, all these things, where am I? 33 minutes here. It's important, I guess, to document this kind of transitionary stage for me again, for the second time, and going back to be involved in the AA. I don't know, by the way, if I'm going to be going to the Tuesday meetings. I have to say that to Flo. I really I'm just going to find it so kind of stressful, not getting the train up, but kind of rushing to get the train back. Leaving the meeting, maybe at 6:30. It seems, I mean, I like the meetings, I know how important they are, but kind of racing like a lunatic to get to a place for 30 minutes and then racing like a lunatic to catch a train, it seems kind of mad. Especially nowadays when we've got all these meetings on Zoom. I know if I say that to Flora, everyone's going to kind of shake their heads and go, oh, here we go, he's starting again. He's going to cut himself off. Anyway, I'm doing it again. I'm throwing myself into imaginary situations that don't exist yet. Yesterday's history, tomorrow's a mystery. It's quite possible this whole situation will be resolved itself. Someone may well offer to give me a lift, you know. You can never tell. Someone may offer to give me a lift back Chalabrian, let's say, who knows. Anyway, I'm not gonna dwell on that. I'm getting back. I'm fucking roasting. I'm wearing my black hat and I'm sweating. And I'm wearing like one of these Conforama jackets and a pink sweater. And it's hot. I want to just absorb the beautiful time of the year. I want to just watch the light go. Get up early, watch the new day. And yet, I feel I'm kind of a busybody. I'm always kind of contemplating stuff or thinking about stuff or revising stuff to be kind of always never quite there in the moment, you know. Today is the most wonderful evening and I'm on my own and got the house to myself and I'm sober. And I want to absorb it. I want to feel it in my soul. And I want to be grateful. Great gratitude for the workings of the powers that be and the higher power over this fortnight or more even. Over the whole month and then some. The whole trip to Ireland, everything seemed to have its own divine purpose, I feel. Anyway, I'm going to wrap this up soon as you can hear the traffic. I'm crossing the road onto the Sauvage side. Bird going overhead and a fantastic greenery of the crops. I'm going to check the mail. Flo's been waiting on an Al-Anon book, which she doesn't seem to know where it is. So I'm going to check the mail and I'm going to say goodbye for now. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change those things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference between the two. Let go, let God. Goodbye for now.